Hello and welcome to ET Auto. Today we are in discussion with Mr. Petr Solc, Brand Director of Skoda Auto India. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Petr.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, so thank you very much for coming to us.
So we have seen how the brand has evolved probably in the last 2 years. The India 2.0 strategy was introduced in 2018. And with two of your products, the Kushak and the Slavia, you have almost doubled the sales last year. So now that you have established your products in the market, so what is the next step of growth probably in terms of product alignment or, the strategy probably?
So first of all, we are very happy about the success of our cars in India 2.0 with the Kushak and Slavia. And both of the cars are very fresh on the market. So Slavia only celebrated 1 year on the market. So for us, for this year, we would like to make sure that our cars are well established on the market. So that we would like to penetrate and approach not only our existing customers, but also then to conquest new customers on the market. So this is for us for the moment where we are. But on top of that, of course, we are having a growing ambitions on the market as well for the future.
So what kind of sales volume do you look for probably in this quarter and by the end of the year?
Well, yeah. So then last year we finished more than 50,000 cars, which was for us more than a double growth versus the previous year. And we can see that the market will be growing further also this year, and we would like to be part of the growth. So for us, we would like to grow double digit this year. So from 50,000, double digit growth is our ambition for this year.
Also, like when you introduced the India 2.0 strategy, you also talked about your market share target of 5%. So we have seen Skoda growing, but when do you do you have a specific timeline target to achieve that 5% market share?
Well, of course, the 5% market share will not come up only with the India 2.0 and with the two products, but the 5% market share is linked to a model expansion and also product range expansion. So we'll be bringing more cars on the road within the 2-3 years. So this is the scope when to achieve also the 5% market share on the market.
Yeah, like just as you mentioned about the products, could you give us a sense of what kind of products the India market could expect from you?
Yeah, so of course I will not be talking uh, exactly specific when and what to come, but definitely I can give certain broad perspective. Yeah. This year, then on top of the India 2.0 cars, we have newly introduced the Kodiaq in a fresh look, and on top of that, we are working also on how to bring back Superb. And then towards the end of the fiscal year 23-24, we would like to bring also the first electric model on the market. So ENIAC, that has been already introduced successfully in Europe and has been already exported to some overseas markets. We would like to bring it also to India. And then based on that, we would like to test the EV market. And if we see a good response, we would like to bring more electric models on the market as well. But this is not only about the electric model, but we would like to have a wide portfolio of the IC models and also electric models. And this to have a right combination, then to aim towards what you've mentioned of the 5%.
As you mentioned about the Superb, so we have also seen the Octavia has been discontinued. So can we see Octavia RS coming back? And when is the Superb, coming back in India?
So Super will have a new generation in Europe, and this is our aim: how to bring also for assembly here also a new Superb. But in the meantime, before the new Superb will be introduced worldwide, we would like to bring Superb in the current emission norm to the market towards the end of the year. This is our intention: how to bring Superb back. Yeah, and you've mentioned about Octavia. I've mentioned also about Octavia RS, and yes, it was a success, and it was, I would say, a bread and butter for Skoda brand also in the past, in the first phase of introduction of the brand on the market, and yeah. The intention is to bring Octavia back. We are just looking for the right time, and also will it be the RS or different version? Yet to be disclosed. First intention is to bring Super, and then we will be working on the feasibility how to bring Octavia.
Also, we have seen your product strategy. You have launched two products in the market, and then you have brought about certain variants and certain additions to the same products. So, how much is the contribution of these special editions? Like you also launched the Monte Carlo editions. Are you planning any more editions? And what kind of sales volumes these editions are contributing to your products?
Yeah, very much so. And now also with the safety campaign that we introduced only a month ago, with the recognition of the global NCAP, having a 5-star rating for the front and also rear seat passengers, we are offering the safest cars on the market, and it's a great pride to have really the safest cars on the market. And having said that, now we will be introducing more and more special editions on the market as well. And we will be communicating safety. This is part of our DNA, and all of us, Skoda cars have been the safest. And also, Skoda globally, since last 15 years, was having a 5-star safety rating of the Euro NCAP. And now also with the global NCAP, we have a Kushaq and Slavia with a 5-star. So for us, we will be bringing every quarter a new special edition on the market. So something to come very soon in a Q2 as well as an additional special edition. And then every quarter we will be bringing more and more special editions. And I believe so then it can bring between 25 to 30% of our global volume as well.
Okay. Okay. So is it going to be a limited edition for both the products, Kushak and Slavia, or one of them? And what kind of limited edition like could it be?
Yeah, so we will be bringing different special editions. So, for example, I can see that the matte finish is quite popular. So this is one of the options that we are considering. Or now, recently, we have introduced also a lava blue as a unique edition. Slavia celebrated 1 year on the market, so we brought anniversary edition. Then you mentioned about the Monte Carlo. So all these things and all these special editions, then we will be thinking some of them will be coming in parallel at the same time. Some of them will be going one by one based on our also cycle plan of the product. But definitely we would like to bring more product refreshment on the market.
Also, we have seen the Indian market moving towards the SUVs, and probably the sedans were not doing really well, but you still introduced a product in that, and we have seen the sales comparatively growing. So, do you also have plans to, launch a product in the MPV or MUV segment? Because if we see this SUV total contribution, if we see, it has grown to as much as 43% now. That's really good. But UVs, if you see, which SUVs is already a part of it, they have already crossed over 50% share. So, do you have any plans of introducing a new product in the MPV or MUV segment?
Not necessarily now in our thinking. We have a couple of scenarios as part of our growth strategy for the future, but rather we are focusing on the SUV and sedans, because also what you have mentioned about the sedan, and we are maintaining sedan in our product range, also with the Slavia and then the A0 SUV segment, it has proven to be successful. So after discontinuation of the Rapid, we introduced Slavia. Now also Hyundai introduced the new Verna. So we can see that despite the segment itself is limited, we can do a solid volume in that segment. So we will be continuing in the sedan segment. As I mentioned, next to Slavia, we would like to bring as quickly as possible also Superb back to the range, and then we'll be focusing further on the enhancement in the SUV, because I still see that the SUV potential is not fully saturated on the market. And if we have look on the sub 4 meter as an example, how quickly the segment is evolving and growing. So we are also thinking about some fast evolving segments, how to expand and extend our product portfolio.
Do you have any plans for the hatchback segment as well, just in case?
It's a unique segment. It's been a traditional mass segment in India, but always it was also quite price sensitive. So for us, we are bringing many safety features and additional technologies, which seems to be really so. Then we have to think about the feasibility as well. So for us, hatchback segment can be one of the scenarios, but not necessarily on the priority list.
And what kind of consumer demand do you get from the tier 2 and tier 2 3 cities compared to the metro cities? How much is the share, probably, if you could give us a number?
So it's growing, and traditionally Skoda in the past was focused on the metro predominantly because of the Octavia, Superb, and Rapid. But now with the introduction of Slavia and also Kushaq, and for the future potentially then to bring also some compact SUVs, then we will be focusing more and more on the tier 2, tier 3 cities. And if I say an example, 2 years ago we had only 120 touch points across India, and now we have 250 touch points. So we more than doubled number of touch points, and we focus on the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and we will continue the expansion in those, because still I believe there is a much more potential for Skoda brand in non-metropolitan areas. So for us, so then the segment in terms of the share of our volume is not as high, but so I think it can be well balanced 50-50 between the metro and non-metro in the future.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, what is the plan for network expansion probably this year? Like, how much are you targeting, or is there a number to that?
Yeah, so definitely. So we, as I mentioned, we have 250 touch points at the moment, and we have close to 200 sales showrooms, and we have 140 service workshops. And we would like to then each quarter bring new showrooms on the road. Let's see so how will be the speed, but uh, by 2024 we would like to still grow by some 20-25% our network.
Also, going with the India's theme of Atmanirbhar, you have like locally manufactured your products, and that has worked well in terms of pricing because India is a cost-sensitive market. So, do you see India becoming your probably the export hub because you are exporting well, like good numbers? Do you see India becoming a hub for the world in those terms?
So I would say India is already an export hub for us, for our company. And at the moment, Volkswagen, our sister brand, is already exporting quite some high volume to Mexico and to South Africa, where Skoda is not present on the market. And on top of that, we as a Skoda, we are exporting already now to Middle East and also to North Africa. And on top of that, in the future, then we will be expanding as a Skoda brand also to ASEAN, to Vietnam, and then Indian cars will be exported to Vietnam to be produced, to be assembled in Vietnam. And this will be quite significant part of our volume for the future.
So, what is the significant part? If you could like quantity, if you could give us the quantitative number, is that okay?
Yeah, so then at the moment we have almost 200,000 production capacity, and we can still expand by some 20-30% in the future. So definitely, so then Vietnam and potentially maybe some other export markets will grow. Of course, we as a Skoda we would like to grow on the local market in India, our volume, but on top of that, we will focus also on some interesting export markets because Skoda is responsible for the region of India, and newly also Skoda is responsible for the region of ASEAN. So this regional responsibility we would like to fully utilize to expand also from India.
If we see the global sales, India contributes about 7%, if I'm not wrong. So, do you see that number reaching to about 10% with your sales growing?
It can very much so, and we talked about the expansion within the 2-3 years of Skoda. Of course, depends on the development of other international markets. But if I have a look what Skoda sold last year, 730,000, and in India 50,000, 7%. You're right, yeah. And other international markets post-COVID will grow as well. But I do see a quite achievable 10% of the global share that will belong to Skoda in India.
So, do you have a timeline for that? Do you have a target for that?
Yeah, I would say within the next 2-3 years.
Okay, by 2025, we can say
Yes.
probably. Right. Also, India is the third largest market, probably your first, the largest one outside Europe. So, do you see India coming up to number two?
It is possible, but of course, again, it depends on the growth and development of the other markets. For us, it's important to maximize the volume potential in India, and if it will bring the rank number 2 or number 3, only the time will show. But for me, the intention is to grow Skoda brand in India.
Also, you do have plans to enter the EV market as well. So, could you like give us a timeline to that? Like you shared, like within this fiscal, can we see it by the end of the year or next year
Yeah,
early?
within the current fiscal year is our ambition to bring ENIAC. We have already ENIAC now on the market, and we are testing that internally. We have already imported a couple of units for our internal testing. And on top of that, towards the end of the fiscal year 23-24, we would like to bring a couple of hundred units to the market to offer it to our customers and to test the demand. If we see there's a good demand, good traction, then we may be thinking about the next steps. And only a week ago, Skoda globally announced the new EV range. 6 new EVs will be introduced for Skoda company by 2026. And as you have mentioned, India is the third biggest market for Skoda and the biggest market out of Europe. So then we will play important role also in the EV strategy. So if we see that also the EV market is developing successfully in India, then we will be bringing more electric models to Skoda range in the future as well.
Yeah, coming to these global products that are just unveiled, how many can we see or we can expect coming to India or like?
Of the EVs, well, again, it depends. Yeah, so because in Europe, some of the markets have already 60% of the EV share. Some of the markets have 40%. So far, India is roughly 1% is electric market. So, but if The prognoses are saying about 20 to 30% of the total market to be EV within the 10 years. We don't want to wait 10 years, definitely. But even if the market will be 5 to 10% of the 5 million, it's quite significant potential. So we would like to be part of it, and within the 2 3 years, definitely, then we will be thinking about what to do next, what to bring next. So ENIAC to be only the first step, the initial step to test the market, and right after that to decide how to bring other cars to the market, how to potentially also localize them to achieve reasonable and achievable price for the customers.
As you mentioned, India is a bit slower on the electric passenger vehicle segment. So, do you see, but the world is moving a little faster. So, do you see India becoming a hub for the ICE vehicles for the world?
I would say for ICE vehicles, definitely it will become an export hub for certain regions. Like I've already mentioned, ASEAN or Middle East or North Africa, and for Volkswagen also for some areas. It will not be a hub for Europe, yeah. But for Skoda, definitely India will be an important role for the export opportunities in overseas markets.
And you have the petrol portfolio, and now you are venturing into EVs. But we have also seen automakers entering the alternative fuels, probably. And your fleet is like your portfolio is also compliant to E20, if I'm not wrong, right
Yes.
now. Yes. So, do you have any plans of entering the diesel market or other alternative fuels?
Well, not on the India 2.0. India 2.0, we fully focus on the petrol. And then so we are fully focusing on the electromobility. So our development will put a lot of emphasis on development of the electric cars. So in terms of if you talk about some other alternative fuels, diesel could play certain role in the future lineup of the parts and components potentially, but not on the India 2.0 models.
Right. Also, like coming back to the EV market, based on your personal study or analysis of the market, what kind of opportunities or challenges do you see particularly in India with respect to the EV market?
Well, I having the experience about from the international markets and how quickly the EV market developed, and I can see also good, I would say, high willingness of the local government to promote the electromobility. I can see it can go quick because it depends on the infrastructure, and if this infrastructure is built, and also if certain incentives and subventions are offered to the customers, I think that the EV market can really grow to 20% in quite some foreseeable future, and why not to 30% within the next 10 years.
Yeah. Also, you have the India 2.0 strategy, and you're working to bring in, new models in India. So, do you think India can be like probably your a research market or kind of a blueprint for other developing markets in the world?
Yes, yeah, I can see it, and it already is. So we have our engineering and development here, and research and development. Everything is fully localized for India 2.0. So whatever we will be then developing and producing here in India, then will be also exported to the overseas.
All right. Thank you for talking to ET Auto, sir. Thank you, and wishing you the best for the coming up products.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.